a taxi MPU, and it has a problem, which I can demonstrate pretty easily. It's not quite 100% yet. I was betting on the come that it would be, but it's got a switch matrix problem. And I'll show you, I'm in switch levels test right now, and I can show you that column 1 works properly, and here's column 7, the last couple switches. But if I hold down the column 8 button and any row switch, it reports all of the switches on column 8. So that's not right, is it? So I can use a logic probe, and that's the column connector that I just removed. And probe these output pins, and this is normal. The pulsing there is normal. But when we get to the column 8, no pulsing. So somewhere upstream of the output pin, there is an issue, and I suspect it is this transistor, which is the column drive for the board. So when I look at where the pulse is coming from out of U40, that is working correctly. Let's get it to the bench and check it out. Here we are with the taxi MPU that we suspect has an issue with this column drive transistor. And I wanted to show you how I test something. I test solenoid drive transistors all in one whack. Now what we used to do is we'd put our meter on continuity, which I have it on now, and black on ground. Well, let me put it over here where you can see it. Yep. And I'll make sure I'm on ground. And then you can just rake across the solenoid drive transistors like that. And if you get a beep in there at any point, then you're going to have a shorted transistor. Now, the old way was like this. Yeah, it works. But this is just a lot quicker. And it would have shown a shorted transistor. In fact, I can demonstrate how that works. Let me connect a ground wire up to a tab of a random transistor, and we'll do the same test. Whoops, did you hear the beep? So this tells me that that transistor would be shorted if it were actually shorted instead of me faking it out. So let's do the same thing for the switch matrix drives. Yeah, and you can see that one's different already, and the rest of them are going to be open. So we need to test that 2N3904 transistor. And the way I always start is by testing a known good transistor to make sure I get the red and the black in the right orientation. So that is the correct reading on one leg, and there's the top leg. So let's go back over to our suspect transistor. And of course that is not correct. It should be between 0.5 and 0.7. And that is definitely not correct. So that almost absolutely indicts this transistor. Let's get it out of there and see what happens. All right, we are back, and I have added Q46 as a change that I've made to this board. And let me get my logic probe and remind you how the columns pulse. It's pulsing high, or high pulsing. And this is the column that was off normal previously, so you can see it's working the same as the other ones are now. So I would fully expect that column to be working properly, and let's test it. And that's correct. Now, taxi only goes to switch 58. So part of the test I was doing before was invalid. Still, it should not have been registering all those switches. So that is correct. Let's, I'm going to reboot right now. And I've got my Victor multi-display board, which is really nice because it supports games like Taxi that have a extra display. Sorry, I was doing some housekeeping. So let's put the game into test. You can see the lamp matrix is working properly, and no coils are turned on at this time. So test we go. And I have taxi ROMs in my soundboard. And this is another one I'll have to add to the pin wiki. I've been putting demonstrations of a correctly functioning audio test, sound and music for all the System 11 games. The music that was just played is all coming from the soundboard. Oh, it's testing the extra display also. Nice. Working properly.
Hey, million! Ooh. Jackpot! Taxi! Ho, ho, ho! Taxi! Hey!
I kind of expect you with the face after that. Here's the lamp test. We can do single lamps. I've got a simulated credit button on this tester. Super nice. Now coil test. So you see a red LED light followed by a green LED lighting almost the same time as the orange one does, and the orange one is the AC select relay simulation. The two bright orange LEDs here are the flipper power enable relay. Now it's going to move on to the special solenoids, which I can test the switch inputs for also. Super. We'll go to switch edges. And let me test all of column 1 again. And then all of row 1. And then the last switch that Taxi will report is 58. Looking good. We can just go through these audits. If I can remember, it's adjustment 23, I think, is free play. Set it to free play because I have installed NVRAM into the board. And I put a 6264 in here just because I've got more 6264 NVRAM. And when you do that, you have to move this jumper from W5 to W6. So back in business. Hey, who ordered a taxi?